Welcome back everybody, Dan here. Thanks so much for joining in, and today I'm going to be giving you my review of the Fanatec ClubSport V3 pedals. Now this is the base set of V3 pedals that you can purchase from Fanatec's website. There's no add-ons here. This is going to be the base level ClubSport pedals. You can purchase other items such as a brake performance kit, various springs, etc. But this review is based on the lowest model that you can purchase out of the ClubSport lineup. And currently on Fanatec's website, you can pick these up for about $330. Now that being said, the price does fluctuate a lot. Sometimes it's higher. I've even seen it lower. You should just know that I'm basing my opinion in my review on the current price of $330 US. Now, one thing I want to mention is there are already a ton of reviews on these pedals. There are some really good, really in-depth reviews out there. So for my review, I'm not going to go so far in depth. I'm going to stick with the things that I think are important. I'm going to stick with the things that I think you guys actually want to know about and the things that are going to be important for you to consider when you do or do not make a purchase to a new set of pedals. So I'm going to talk about 4 things here. I'm going to keep it simple. The first thing I'm going to talk about is build quality. Do I think the build quality is good? The second thing I'm going to talk about is something that is always very important to me that a lot of people don't typically talk about in a review, but that's the comfort, because we tend to sit for long periods of time in our sim rigs. So for me, it's important that all components of that sim rig are very easy to use and very comfortable for long time periods. The third thing I'm going to talk about is what everybody is here for, I'm sure. Everybody wants to know, will these pedals make you faster? So I'm definitely going to answer that question for you. That'll be the third thing I talk about. And then the last thing I touch on is going to be whether or not I simply think that these are a good value for the price you pay based on other pedal sets available on the market. So those are the 4 things I'm going to talk about, and we're going to get right into it right now. So let's start off with the build quality here. So I would explain the build quality on these pedals as a very solid but minimalistic build quality. So to save on cost here, Fanatec seems to have designed this in a way that there's minimal materials used, but the materials that they have used are a very solid quality. There's almost all metal construction here, and the metals that they have used are very thick, very solid, and it's all held together with some very substantial bolts and nuts and things like that. So as far as the physical components of these pedals, I do think that they will last a very long time. I've had absolutely no issues with them whatsoever so far, and I don't think that they will. On top of that, there are some components here that these base pedals come with that you can swap out if you want a heavier feeling pedal. Whether it's the gas pedal or the clutch pedal here, there are some additional springs that come with the kit. You don't have to buy them extra, and you can swap them out for a more solid feel and a more solid build. The other thing I want to talk about, which I'll talk a little bit further on later on in the video, is that the brake pedal has a load cell built into it, which is an exceptional piece of equipment and does definitely help out in your performance. And like I said, I will talk about that further on in the video. The one thing that I do want to mention as far as build quality here, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something you'll want to watch out for. Because of this minimalistic design, there's a lot of holes in here. It's basically, there's no base to this. It's just the framework. You've got basically 2 pieces of metal cross bars in the front and the back, and then you've got these 2 large curved braces on the sides, and that's pretty much the entirety of the framework, and then the pedals and the heel plate sit on top of that. Because of that, though, there are a lot of exposed wires. So once you get this mounted up, you're going to be fine, but you're going to want to pay special attention while you're mounting these pedals, while you're moving them around, that you don't obstruct or break or bump into these exposed wires, because there are a lot of exposed wires simply due to the fact of the build design here. This minimalistic build is what I would call it. So great build quality, watch out for the wires, but I think it's an excellent piece of equipment that will last a very long time. So let's move right along. Let's talk about comfort. This is one of the most important things for me, and I think a lot of people don't talk about this, but you know, maybe I am the only person who cares about the comfort, but for me it's important. It's something you really need to look into. So these pedals, or this as a whole, is pretty comfortable. I will say there are some negatives here in the comfort side. Number one, I wish that the heel plate was about 1 inch or 2 longer. I find that it's a little bit too short. And when you combine the heel plate with the very slippery finish that they have, while it looks nice, those two things combined, I find that my heel slips off the heel plate if I have the pedals angled up too high. The other thing I will mention here is that the factory pedal plates, which I think look better, those are the actual, they look more like a standard pedal face with the large gas pedal. While I think they look better, they were not as comfortable for me. Luckily though, in the kit when you buy these pedals, they come with these plastic, these are not metal, these are plastic curved, more like a racing style pedal face. And I like those better. They are much more comfortable. What this allowed me to do with these was mount these in a way where I could actually lower the entire plate that the pedals fit on my GT Omega ART, which kind of alleviated some of that issue where my heel was sliding off of the back, because now the heel plate is more flat, but I still have that angle on the pedals, and that's because these pedals actually use this additional bracket back here. They kind of kick them out away from the actual pedal mechanism here that's connected to the springs. So those are the negatives I would say there. As far as, you know, how they feel to use, they're fine. I actually found the stock springs very comfortable to use. They're a good balance between easy to press, you know, but not too soft where you don't get any feeling. And I find that to be the case with both the clutch and the gas pedal. So yeah, so comfort wise, I think they're okay. I do wish that the pedal plate or the heel plate was a little bit longer, like I said, and I do find that for me, these pedal faces are much more comfortable for me. But again, this is going to be a preference thing. So luckily, the kit does come with both, and you can try this out different ways at different angles, and you may find personally that it's not an issue at all where it was for me. But I will say, with the pedals in the setup that I have now and the pedal set angled on my rig the way that I have now, they're 100% comfortable. It just basically took some dialing in, but now that I've got it dialed in, I find them to be very comfortable, and I can run them for hours at a time with no issues. Now to answer the question that I think most people are actually here for, this is what everyone wants to know. Will buying a set of these pedals make you faster out there on the track? And the answer to that is yes and no. So it's complicated. It's not a simple answer. I know that people were hoping for a very simple answer, but it's just not that simple. So I'll go into explaining to you what I mean here. If you're the kind of person, or if you were hoping that you could go drop a little over $300, unbolt your current set of pedals, bolt these in their place, hop on track, and instantly run seconds quicker on your lap time, you're going to be sorely disappointed here. That is not going to happen. These are not a magic. There's no magic here. There's no sorcery going on here. This is just a simple tool that you can use. So you are going to have to do some practice. There is going to be some adjustments here. So no, you're not just going to bolt these to your rig and instantly be faster. I'm sorry, that is not the case. That's the no part of it. That being said, however, the brake pedal on these pedals has the load cell, which I mentioned before. The load cell is going to be a much more accurate feeling as well as digitally sending that information from your input to your computer, it's going to be much more precise, much more accurate. So the load cell itself is actually going to help you be more precise. So in time, your braking points will get shorter, your braking will become more consistent, and after practice using this tool and this load cell, and I mean a lot of practice, at some point in time, you will find that these will help you with practice become quicker because of the load cell, because you can decrease your braking distances, and because you'll become overall more consistent in your braking points. Because of that, yes, after some time, you should become faster. But what you need to remember here, what you need to take out of this is just a tool like every other piece of equipment that you can buy, every other set of pedals out there. This is a tool, and you will have to get used to using this new tool because it will feel much different, especially if you're using a set of pedals with a potentiometer or just a spring-based pedal. You know, this is going to be completely different, so there will be a point there where you'll have to get used to using the load cell. And then at that point, you can use its benefits to help you reduce your lap times. But there's no sorcery here. These are not going to instantly make you faster the minute you bolt them up to your rig. I'm sorry, that's just not going to happen. But this is a better tool to help you make your braking more consistent and just overall have a quicker experience over time with practice. So that's why I said yes and no here. No, it's not going to be instant, but the brake pedal with this load cell is a lot better than a potentiometer or especially a spring pedal like some of the very old set of pedals that you can get out there. So over time, yes, this should make you quicker, but it's still going to take a lot of practice. And that is actually going to bring me into my final topic here. And that is, do I think that these are a good value? If you're using currently something like the CSL Elites or the T3PA pedals, those are all sub $200 pedals. And for just $100 more, what you get, or $130 more, what you get here for these pedals is a lot more. The build quality is much better. There's no denying that. They look a lot better. This is simply going to make your rig look much better to upgrade to a set of pedals like this. I mean, just look at them. They're absolutely beautiful. And they are also, in time, going to make you more efficient in your driving, more consistent, and with practice, they will make you faster. So I feel like the 100 or so odd more dollars that you paid to pick up a set of pedals like this is definitely worth it if you're currently using a lesser set of pedals. Especially if you're using something like the bass pedals that came with maybe the Thrustmaster TX or something like that, the two-piece pedals. I think instead of spending around $200 to get a set of T3PA Pro pedals or something like that, I think I would go ahead and step it up to these pedals. You know, as long as you're using it on a PC where you can plug these in directly into your computer via the USB cord. Keep in mind though, if you are using a wheelbase that requires you to plug in your pedals via the back of the wheelbase, these are not going to work for you unless the wheelbase you are using is a Fanatec wheelbase. So just keep that in mind. But yes, overall, I think these are a great, great value. They're almost in a class by themselves. There's really nothing else that comes in at that $300, $350, or $400 price range other than paying a little bit more and getting the inverted set of these pedals. But I actually like these bass pedals. I had considered the inverted pedals, but it just becomes a little more obnoxious and annoying to kind of swap these in and out, which is why I went with the bass pedals. So yes, they are a very good value. Can you get a better set of pedals? Of course you can. The thing is, these are at a point where once you pass these V3s, you really start getting up in excessive amounts of money to get like a custom set of pedals, like a Huskenveld or something like that. And I'm not really sure that you will get that much more out of them. Of course, you will get more out of them. They look cooler and stuff like that. But I don't know if you'll get that much more out of those type of custom pedals than you will here for it to justify that additional cost. Because some of those cost in the thousands. So at this price point, where these sit, I think that they are the best value you can find, and I think they're a great set of pedals. So yes, I do recommend you pick up these pedals. I do not think you would be disappointed in these. Just make sure that if you do pick up these pedals, you are going to be using them with a wheelbase that they are compatible with, or that you are running them on the PC and you're going to be plugging them directly in via a USB port. Now, the very last thing is a little tip here that I want to talk about before I end this review, guys, and it does have to do with the USB cord. Because of the way that these pedals are built in that minimalistic design, I'm going to flip these here. You'll see, and I may even put some B-roll up for this. See this box here? It's kind of shoved way up under here. It's not like towards the back. My preference would have been if it was just kind of, you know, at the back somewhere here. The problem is they couldn't do that because of this minimalistic design. So what happens is, when you go to plug the wire into that box that's underneath this, to plug this in via USB to your computer, or if you're plugging in the Fanatec handbrake or multiple other items that actually plug into this box here, there's a lot of little holes for you to plug various things in. If you try to plug those in after you have this mounted to your rig, it is almost impossible to get your hand under here because there's not enough room. So what I ended up having to do the first time, and again, this is just a helpful tip, something for you to think about, is I mounted this down, realized I couldn't get my hand under there, so I had to completely loosen up the pedals and pick them back up to plug everything in. So my little helpful tip here is if you're going to end up using these pedals, guys, plug everything in first that you're going to be using before you mount them to your rig, because it's going to be nearly impossible, if not impossible, to get your hand under there first of all, and then once you get your hand under there, you have to figure out where those plugs are to plug them in. Not a huge deal, just something to keep in mind. But yeah, so other than that, these are a great set of pedals. I definitely recommend them. The load cell in this brake is awesome, and in time it will definitely help you be more consistent, more faster, and yeah, I highly recommend them. So I'm gonna now get them mounted back to my rig and do some driving with them because I really enjoy them. They may require you some setup and some testing to get them perfect for you, but that's pretty typical with any set of pedals and mostly anything that we use in sim racing. So that's going to be the end here, guys. If I happen to miss anything you wanted to know about, please let me know in the comments below. I'll be glad to answer you in the comments, or if it requires another look at these pedals, I can answer that in another video if I happen to miss something that you guys were wondering about. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this pedal review. Go grab you a set of these because they are very nice and definitely worth the price. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I'll talk to you in the next video. We'll see you later.